everybody. Well, it's proper winter here in Quebec. It's really cold outside, lots of snow, lots of birds on my bird feeders. So if you're in the same climate zone as us, please make sure to keep the snow and ice off your bird feeders. Keep your bird feeders filled consistently. And one more reminder, the Great Backyard Bird Count is happening from the 12th to the 15th of February. All you have to do is count birds in your backyard for 15 minutes on one of those days and log them with eBird. So please find the 15 minutes and help signs. Over the years, I've received a few emails and pictures of our customers painting our bird feeders in different colors and different patterns. It was all very cute. But that actually sparked my curiosity about whether birds actually cared about what color our feeders are and if it made any difference to how you can attract birds to your bird feeders. So I sent my question to Dr. Bird. Now let's check out what he has to say about it.
I've been told that a number of Brome Bird Care customers are painting the normally green feeders in different colors. While they do it for fun, it's true that some of the larger stores do offer a variety of brightly colored feeders. So I've been asked, do birds really care about the color of a given feeder? Well, there was actually a study done on this in 2017, albeit with feeder birds in the UK. Students at the University of Hull offered the same food in 8 identical feeders, but with the metal parts painted in different colors: red, green, yellow, blue, purple, black, silver, and white. Over the winter, the students spent 185 hours recording 7,435 visits by 11 different bird species, most of them which were various tit species, like our chickadees, house sparrows, and a couple of finch species. Red, yellow, and blue were the least favored, followed by white, black, and purple. But the birds definitely liked silver and green. I was not surprised that white was not favored, as it's widely believed to act as a warning color in nature, and it's not recommended as a color to wear in your clothing when you're watching birds. Even when the students added an ultraviolet reflectance to the blue and red feeders, it did not make them more attractive to birds. Next, the students decided to find out what feeder colors the customers preferred. So at a science festival, they presented the same choices to visitors to their booth. While the public did tend to like the brightly colored feeders, the only color that was mutually agreed upon between them and the birds was green. And that's the original color of all the Brome Bird Care's feeders, which means that Brome got it right in the first place.
You know, food waste has always been of great concern to me. Having grown up during the perestroika times in the Soviet Union with horrendous food shortages, I absolutely hate throwing food away. 1.3 billion tons of food is wasted worldwide every year. So on this episode and for the next few episodes on our EnviroMinute, I would like to talk to you about ways that we can extend the lifespan of the food that we buy and how we can actually waste less food. So today it's potatoes, such a food staple in every household, but unfortunately a lot of people don't know how to store potatoes properly, so they sprout and go bad really fast, and then a whole bag gets thrown out. So if you buy your potatoes in a mash bag and a paper bag, just leave them like that. If they come in a different kind of bag, just put them in the box and store them in the cool, humid, dark place. My parents still have a root cellar, and it's amazing how long potatoes, apples, and other root vegetables actually survive. Next thing, do not put your potatoes in the fridge. They become really starchy and go bad super fast. Another tip, really cool tip that I just learned, throw an apple with your potatoes. Apparently, ethylene that the apple produces will prevent potatoes from sprouting. And finally, onions and potatoes. A lot of people tend to store them together, but onions actually make your potatoes sprout a lot faster. So store them separately. A while ago, Carol Murawski rescued a mourning dove which had lost its tail feathers, and the area where the feathers would be was very scabby. So she was wondering if and how long it would take for the feathers to grow back.
Hi, Carol. I realize that by the time you might view my response to your question, your bird will hopefully be long gone and out in the wild somewhere. But to be truthful, that will completely depend on how badly damaged the tail feathers are, or more importantly, the feather follicles or sheaths. First things first. Normally one can actually pull out a wing or a tail feather from a bird and it'll grow back fairly quickly. I'll never forget my experience with a tail feather loss in a captive loggerhead shrike. I was trying to catch the flying bird in a cage with my bare hands, which was a dumb move to begin with, and I grabbed it by its tail feathers. The bird wriggled a bit to escape, and I was left holding the entire tail in my hands. I wasn't too worried though, because as a biologist I knew that they would grow back rather quickly, and this would not be of concern to a bird living in captivity. It sometimes actually uses an escape mechanism in some birds to prevent becoming a meal. The bird literally jettisons its tail feathers to get away. Whether it survives without a tail in the ensuing weeks is another matter. Back to your mourning dove. It takes about 6 weeks for flight feathers to grow back to normal length in a pigeon, a bird closely related to a dove. Because of the scabby nature of the tail area though, my guess is that your bird was the victim of a four-legged predator, likely a cat, which ended up with not only a pawful or a mouthful of tail feathers, but also some flesh. And if that's the case, then the feather follicles may have been irreparably damaged, preventing some or all of the feathers from regrowing properly. Hopefully, if that's the case, the bird finds some kind person to take care of it during its remaining days. Otherwise, a mourning dove without a tail will not last long in the wild.
Raymond Haddad and his wife Elaine Gagnon got in touch with me. They actually shared a Facebook post with me of a black swan, which is native to Australia, that showed up in one of our local lakes, Lake Selby. No one knew where it came from. Elaine actually got in touch with our local zoo and they told her that all the black swans were accounted for and they couldn't take the third one because black swans live in pairs. So after many phone calls, Wildlife Protection Quebec got involved and Elaine's neighbor Maureen Taylor actually filmed it being rescued. She shared the video with us. So right now the black swan is healthy. It's in quarantine in one of our local park safaris and the employees are looking for a mate for the black swan because they live in pairs.
So again, the wildlife people are here to try and catch this black swan. Apparently only known in Australia, which is, nobody could figure out why he's here at the lake. Beautiful, as you can see. Very large.
Elaine promised to follow up with us to let us know what happens to this beautiful swan. And another story about a bird that showed up somewhere where it's not supposed to be. Joe the pigeon, named after President Joe Biden, showed up dehydrated in a really rough state in an Australian backyard. It had a leg band that identified as an American racing pigeon that had disappeared and then now showed up in Australia 8,000 miles away from its original destination. But as soon as the Australian authorities learned where the pigeon came from, and since it didn't have all the proper paperwork and didn't quarantine, it was scheduled to be euthanized. And then the story hit social media and people started doing all sorts of research. So it turns out that the leg band that it was carrying might actually be a counterfeit. And that pigeon is just a regular local Australian pigeon. So for the moment, the Australian authorities have backed off and they're letting the pigeon stay where it is right now. All right. right, it's time to say goodbye. I am actually off to fill my Niger feeders. I have 2 of them, and common redpolls have been emptying them in no time. And again, mark your calendars for the great backyard bird count, and please find 15 minutes to participate. All right, take care. I'll catch you in 2 weeks.